Welcome to this bonus episode of the Pregnancy Help Podcast. I'm Christine Grimond, and in this episode, we will highlight an issue that is very important for pregnancy help organizations to be aware of. January is National Human Trafficking Prevention and Awareness Month, so I have with me today Cindy Collins. Cindy is the founder of the Pregnancy Help Center of Slidell in Louisiana. And Cindy and another friend of Heartbeat, Dr. Laura Lederer, were part of the team that developed Heartbeat Academy's online course created specifically for pregnancy help organizations on how to identify and assist victims of human trafficking. She has quite the resume in addition to that. She's the founder of speakhope.net, a writer, an international speaker, and she served on the Louisiana Human Trafficking Commission. She's also spoken about the link between trafficking and abortion. So, Cindy, thanks for joining us today.
And I'm so thankful to be on with you, Christine. It's an honor.
So let's get started at the beginning of your story. So you've worked in pregnancy help ministry, but also served women who are victims of human trafficking. How did those two worlds come together?
Well, I started to do international missions with pregnancy work, and actually that had taken me to India. And when I saw what was going over there and I came back to the States and I lived near Bourbon Street, I felt like God was calling me to start going down to Bourbon Street with teams. So I started doing that, and I just had this sensing, well, I've been doing life-affirming work for so many years. Lord, why do you want me? Now I'm going down in this direction. And he said, because my daughters are down there and they're crying out for help. And so I went down to Bourbon Street, and sure enough, I found that there were many young women who were pregnant. Some were being trafficked, and actually even some had been through our pregnancy center in Slidell. And so I knew that this was what was on God's heart, and that there was a problem that had not been identified by pregnancy centers and life-affirming ministries, and even those that were in working in human trafficking, of the value and the sanctity not only of the mother's life who was being trafficked, but also of the baby's life. So that's how I got started, Christine, of seeing that and just following God into that.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes to that. It's not an easy undertaking. It's a really difficult subject. It's hard. I know for me, learning about it, it's hard to even comprehend that some of these awful things are happening. Can you tell us about an experience that you've had in learning about, or maybe some stories about working with some of the trafficking victims?
Well, what I learned, because I was learning the link between trafficking, predatory relationships, pregnancy, and abortion, is that I learned a lot by the victim survivors, by listening to their stories. And one of the first ones was a young woman that had contacted our helpline, because we have a 24-hour helpline through our Speak Hope ministry in our pregnancy center. And she had run away, escaped from an abortion facility, and the trafficker was in the waiting room. And in Louisiana, because we had already passed some laws that said that abortion facilities had to inform their clients about trafficking, they told her that there's the back door, go out there. You need to get out of here. And so in essence, they didn't want any part of this. So there was a pregnancy center not too far away within walking distance, and she ended up running over to that pregnancy center in another city, and then contacted us through our helpline and was really looking for help, not confident that anybody was going to be able to help or even believe her story. But then we networked with other pregnancy centers and other ministries that we knew were consistent and would understand and wanted to help, and were able to place her in a safe place that helped her have her baby. And other people networked together to help all of the multifaceted needs of trafficking survivors. So that's the one that stands out to me, because I really learned so much during that time.
Wow, thank you. Yeah. So now, what are some of the things that you've learned specific? I know we could go into this, and we do go into it in the full course that's available through Heartbeat Academy. But can you briefly talk about some of the things that a pregnancy center can do, or ways that they can recognize if this woman that just walked through their door could potentially be a victim of trafficking? And so, how would they recognize that? And then, what are some steps that they can take to save her?
Okay. I want to step back and just say that at the time that this was going on with me, Dr. Lederer was doing a scientific study of over 200 survivors and found that 70% of survivors of sex trafficking had become pregnant during trafficking. 55% of them had been forced to have abortions. Nobody was identifying them. Even if Dr. Lederer was not aware of pregnancy centers at that time, because the women looked like they were domestic violence victims. They looked like they may have been drug addicts and were discounted. And some were even brought in by what seemed to be family members, aunts, boyfriends, what seemed to be like a stepfather, and others could not speak the English language. They were being brought across the border specifically for the purposes of trafficking. So, when we say that, of what does that trafficking survivor, what does she look like? She can look like an everyday person. And one of the identifying factors that we've found is that she may not have any identification with her. That's being withheld from her, and the person that brings her in has that identification. She may look like she is addicted to drugs. She may have had repeated pregnancies and repeated abortions or classified as miscarriages. As I said, she may not be able to speak the English language, not have her documentation in order. And she may also be dressed inappropriately, look very gaunt, emaciated, and that can be seemingly many of our clients, and may be in a situation where she is being abused. The thing for us to understand as people that work in pregnancy centers is to educate every client that we have about sex trafficking and predatory relationships, which Heartbeat has in the training, as well as we have some materials, a little brochure that can be given to every woman, educate her because she is at risk. And then if you have a question, you think there's the potential of her being a trafficking survivor, go ahead and call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, which is 888-3737-888. And I know Heartbeat has that also. And become aware of these. If you're sensing something's not right, usually it's not. And it's not going to hurt to call. They'd rather have you call than not call at all.
Thank you. I know the numbers can be helpful to give an idea of just how widespread this could be. Do you have any statistics or facts for us?
There are statistics that are given, but honestly, nobody really knows. I mean, it is in the millions, and we know that where our nation is right now, with so many people coming across the borders, they're young women, they're women, and there's rapes that are occurring and such. We know that it is a significant problem in every community, and that's been documented even through gangs and organized crime, because you can make more money from trafficking a person over and over again than selling drugs. So even the gangs and organized crime are getting involved in this. But, sadly, young women are being lured into this, single mothers, they're not able to make their payments, and they may be lured into strip clubs and told that they could go ahead and make money for one night or pay the rent. And then they become addicted to drugs, and other things may occur that place them in bondage to traffickers. So that's why pregnancy centers especially need to become educated and educate their clients, because this is occurring in every community.
And pregnancy centers are in such a unique position to serve these women and to recognize and help them, especially ones that are offering the free STD testing and advertising these free pregnancy tests. That sounds like a perfect place to, even for traffickers to say, let's just see what's up. Let's see if you're pregnant. That's where these the pregnancy center staff and volunteers, when they're trained, they recognize it and they can immediately get her into a safe place. I've heard of some centers that might have a whiteboard on the back of the door in the bathroom saying, this is right away, we can contact you, or let us know if you're in trouble, or maybe it's on the intake sheet. There's something that they can ask. What are some of the other things that you've seen as ways to get them immediate help?
Well, the whiteboard is really great to go ahead and put on the inside of the bathroom stall. And there's also downloadable posters that you can get at the any of the human trafficking websites, but especially the National Human Trafficking website. And you can post those or tape those to the inside of a bathroom stall, the places where the traffickers will not be. It's important to only let the woman back there and not the traffickers. There's also some different things that we do with chapsticks with our hotline number on it, with a trained staff member on there, and even simple things that she might be able to slip into her shoe. The thing to understand is that if the trafficker gets these things, finds out that the woman has received those things, it can mean violence and sometimes even death to her and the baby. So you have to be very, very discreet and very careful. What we do is we always tell a woman, if you're in trouble, if you have needs, go ahead and give us a call or a text on the helpline, and we will go ahead and we'll communicate back to you, and then get her connected to law enforcement or somebody that can really help her further.
Great. Thank you. Now, this course that we have through Heartbeat Academy is something that you and Dr. Leader had put together a while back. How did that come about? How did you gather all the resources to put in the training and decide what needed to be in that training?
Thank you. We felt that it was really critically important for the centers to have this. And Dr. Lederer had done a survey, as I said, of over 200 survivors of trafficking. And we took that information, including her vast knowledge through Global Centurion, which is the organization that she oversees. And I think that's globalcentorion.org. And just gathered all that information, as well as the personal testimonies of the women who had been trafficked and had become pregnant, to really hear their voices and let their voices be heard. And then ask them, how would you want to be helped? Where did you go? And who did not see you or recognize that you needed help? And what Dr. Lederer found was that when they were talking, that the women had been taken to hospitals and they had been beaten, some had been pregnant, and it was never identified by hospital staff. They had been taken to the abortion facility. They had been taken to Planned Parenthood, and it was never identified. So that's why we knew as caregivers, pregnancy help centers were the perfect place, because we were already primed and ready to care and to love unconditionally and to really help women and their babies. We just needed this extra component of what to do and how to recognize somebody who was trafficked or potentially could be trafficked, how to help her, and how to network with the community. So that's how the training came about. And that was the initial training. And again, Dr. Lederer has been doing this for many years. She not only identified this with the link between abortion and sex trafficking, but has really identified so much for our nation. So it's very valuable. It's a very, very valuable training.
Now, before we close up, as we wrap up here today, can you tell me the story, if you have one that comes to mind, of maybe somebody you walked through this process of healing with and what that looked like at the beginning of her journey, and then now as healing probably continues to happen, but towards the end of that journey?
Yes, there's somebody that's coming to mind, and healing comes at all different levels. And even having to go to law enforcement and restoration of her life. Like I said, all of the pregnancy centers are really primed for all of this. And with this young woman, she came to us initially for help with pregnancy and had actually had abortion in her past. And then she was able to identify herself that she had been trafficked. So the first thing to do was to be able to go ahead and separate her from the trafficker and other abusers that were in her life, and begin the healing process, as well as help her through the pregnancy and the healing from the past abortions. I can tell you that it's been a process. It's been at least 3 years, and we've connected her with other agencies and ministries as a community to be able to begin to help her heal, to see her value, her own worth, her destiny in Christ, and not only that, but that of her children, because she's chosen to parent her children, which have been the Lord's used to bring a lot of healing into her life. And so she also got plugged into and connected to a great church in the area. And some of the legal things that were going on with her, one, in fact, is in the process of being expunged. And so she's coming into understanding who she is in Christ, her identity, and the healing. And she's also married now. So, but it just takes a commitment on our end, but we don't have to do everything, Christine.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I like that you mentioned she got connected to a church. She got connected to all of these other resources that were going to help her, because we know pregnancy centers are so good at that. We can take care of a lot of these needs, and we're going to branch out, and we're going to point you in the direction of other community resources that you can use to continue on. So Cindy, just to wrap up, can you talk a little bit about your work and how people can reach you?
Yes, I can. And I also want to include my partner, Dr. Laura Lederer, too. But for me, our website is speakhope.net. And they can contact me through that website. There's a contact button. That's usually the easiest way. Or my email address is speakhope@me.com. That's speakhope@me.com. And Dr. Lederer's website is Global Centurion. There's also a lot of information, a vast amount of information on there to help centers. And her contact information is on there also. But again, I believe it's globalcentorion.org.
Well, we really appreciate everything that you and Dr. Lederer have done through Heartbeat Academy. I know you've also presented workshops at our conference, so you're no stranger to Heartbeat, and we're so grateful for you. So if you are interested in the How to Identify and Assist Victims of Human Trafficking course, in addition to some other recorded workshops and webinars on the topic of human trafficking, go to heartbeatservices.org and click on the store. And make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode, and share with someone else. Maybe you know another pregnancy center who's looking for a little more training on this topic. So Cindy, I want to thank you for spending some time with us. Any final thoughts before we close out?
I just checked the website. It is globalcentorion.org.
Okay.
And I just really want to encourage centers to get involved, to get educated, make this a part of what you do, and also to educate the women that you serve. They can go ahead and educate their whole generation.
We are grateful for all the work that the Pregnancy Help Movement is doing for women who are victims of trafficking. So many have been rescued through the Pregnancy Help organization. So we are very appreciative of the work that you all do. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Pregnancy Help Podcast, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.